All right, so the purpose of this video is to teach the basics of a Java while loop. So if you follow this link here, to go ahead and type it in, you'll head to a Replit, which will have the source code, or you could just use the link that is embedded in the description of this video to get to it as well. Once you do get to it, you will see this, which is a main class that if we run it, it basically will ask us, do we want A for addition, B for multiplication, or Q to quit? Regardless of what we put in, I'll just put in B for right now and hit enter. It'll say you chose multiplication, which obviously makes sense because B is for multiplication, but then we can see that it exits, so it doesn't really do anything. Now, in a perfect world, if I'm going to create some kind of computer or calculator application, I should be able to do math with it until I want to no longer do math with it. So hearing the word while in my statement, I know that I probably need a while loop in here if I want that to happen. So go ahead and fork an example of this by go ahead and just clicking that fork to create your own. But let's take a look at the basics of while loops. So while loops will run as long as the condition of the while loop is true. Now, if you recall back to our if statements, when we created if statements, we had the keyword if and then followed by a statement, or I'm sorry, a condition which was found inside the braces. So everything in between these two braces is a condition. Now, if this happens to be true, it will execute what's between the braces of the if statement. If this is false, it will skip these braces and move down to the next line of code, so forth and so on. Well, looking at the while loops, they're structured very much the same. So here's a pseudocode example over here. The difference, keyword while, there is a condition, much like there's in an if statement. And then if this condition for the while happens to be true, it will execute the code. This could be multiple lines of code in here, as you will soon see. And it will keep on executing that and checking the condition for each iteration, each time it goes through the code. However, if the condition ends up being false, it'll skip through the while loop and then go to the next sequence of code if there is any. So again, once we get to the condition, it'll check it. If it's true, it'll run whatever codes between the while loops, and then it'll keep checking. So we could potentially loop for a long time. In some cases, and usually by accident, an infinite loop, so it never leaves it. However, we're going to go ahead and let the user input some information, whether they want addition, multiplication, or to quit, as long as it's not Q for quit. So if it's anything but Q, let's go ahead and run the code, all right, or at least attempt to, and ask them to put in input again. And if it is Q, which would be what we don't want in a case, it will execute it'll exit and leave the while loop. So let's go ahead and give that a shot in code first. Maybe it'll help us understand a little better. So we can see on these two lines right here that we prompt the user, hey, for addition, enter A, multiplication, enter B, or to quit, enter Q. And then we declared a string variable named input, and we assigned it whatever the user kind of input as into the scanner object. So we will put a while loop right after this. And let's say while inputs dot equals ignore case letter Q. So this basically will be, hey, while the user's input is Q, all right, and it's ignoring case, so it could be capital Q or lowercase, do what's between these braces. So I'm going to put an opening brace for the while loop. So open while, just so I can keep track of it. And then as I go down here, I'm going to kind of tab these over each one of these lines. They're inside the while loop, so this will kind of help me visually see that they're inside there. It's kind of an important behavior or action to recall to do. And then the if statement stops here, and I will go ahead and I will end the while after the last if statement. All right, so now taking a look at this, what's going on right now is the condition we're checking for is while the user enters queue will do this. Well, we don't want while the user enters queue. As a matter of fact, queue is the thing that should escape us from here. So we'll say while the input is not queue, we will go ahead and execute this code. All right, so basically, let's go ahead and run it. All right, for addition, enter A. For multiplication, enter B. Or quit, enter Q. All right, well, let's give it a shot. Let's put in the letter A. Okay, and we can see it's just constantly saying you chose addition, you chose addition, you chose addition. So we're caught in what's called an infinite loop. This will not stop running. So we'll go ahead and click stop and force it to quit. All right, and let's see why. So we allow the user to enter in a letter, and then we evaluate it here, and then we run through this code. Well, the problem is, when is input ever not going to be whatever we typed in after we get in here? We don't take input anymore. So what we'll need to do, let's steal these lines of code here, and so we Control-C copied them. And then after this if, but before the while closes, right at the end of the while, we will ask again, hey, which one of these do you want? And let's get rid of the declaration statement because we can't declare the variable again. We can only refer to it. And let's go ahead and run that again and try the same input. And I will open up the screen here. Let's clear that input out and let's just go ahead and run it. And when I get into this, I will go ahead and I will type in B, and it says you chose multiplication, and then ask me again for addition, enter A. For multiplication, enter B. All right, let me try A. Okay, good. So again, it will allow me, as you can see, to continue picking as long as I like. Let me scroll down here a little bit more if I can. And then if I type in Q, we are out of the program. So I'll run that one more time. And this time I will just directly hit Q and let's see what happens. All right, so I hit Q and it automatically exits from the program. So I should run and test this a couple more times. If this were a program I were actually developing, I definitely would do that, and I encourage you to do so as well. Go ahead and create a while loop and try a program where you're controlling how long a program loops until you're finally done with looping it. But that is your introduction to while loops. I hope you find it useful.